We bring you Office Bearer of Working for an Alcohol Safer South Africa, Maurice Smithers, who joins us. Very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. What do you make of these new liquor regulations?
Thank you very much for having us. You know, it's always good to see where liquor boards are trying to take steps to rectify some of the challenges facing people in different provinces. But I must say, we're not particularly convinced that the new regulations are going to make that much of a difference. Many of the things that have been highlighted, that were highlighted in your insert now, and have been highlighted in the press, things like checking for the age of people who are coming into the place, getting zoning approval from municipalities before licenses are approved, and that sort of thing. Those were there already. It's not as if there's something new. What we are concerned about, actually, that they've missed an opportunity to improve on certain things right now. I mean, one of the things we do like about the Eastern Cape is that they do, for example, say that ward committees must be consulted. But they don't say that community police forums should be consulted and other community-based organizations. So that's a bit of a gap, unfortunately. And there are many other ways in which we believe they could have improved things, particularly in terms of the rights of communities. I've just had a look at their website. It's extraordinary that they've got a website, but on that website, there's almost no information available to the public on what their rights are in terms of objecting to applications and reporting non-compliant outlets. All of the information is aimed at traders. It's really something that skews the balance in favor of traders and away from the rights of communities.
What about the requests on how every application needs to come in with a municipal zoning certificate? Surely that should assist with the problems that community members have, where a tavern or shebeen is placed right next door a school or a church, for instance.
You know, that is, as I said earlier, I think one of the challenges is that municipalities have always supposed to be involved in these processes. One of the problems is that often provinces don't take account of what municipalities think. But the issue of proximity to schools and faith-based institutions, that is not a municipal issue. That's an issue that the province can decide on. But again, it's Gauteng, for example, has got a problem that they've got that already written into their legislation, but it's written in an unnuanced way. So it basically says that you can give a license to somebody who is not within 500 meters of a school or faith-based institution. What do you do if somebody's applied for a license in a mall or in a business street, which happens to be, unfortunately, within 500 meters of the school? You can't. In fact, what happened in Gauteng is that they decided to just ignore their own rules because they're unenforceable. So again, we think that Eastern Cape has made a mistake, not by including that. We think it should be included, but that it's included in a way that's unenforceable. We don't think it's going to make enough of a difference, unfortunately.
Yeah. What about the bit about, you know, I think it's all aimed to at least efforts to prevent operational neglect, where the emphasis on on-site accountability. Do you think that will make a difference at all? Especially if we have to consider the Enyobeni Tavern incident. I mean, that in itself comes into sharp focus.
No, absolutely. And unfortunately, the media, some of the media's got it a bit wrong, because a couple of the media articles said that the owner has to be there. That's not entirely true. It's the owner or a registered manager. So somebody who has been registered with the liquor board as a recognized manager. So yes, absolutely, that is really, really important, because in fact, you're quite right. One of the things that happened around Enyobeni was that the owner tried to dodge responsibility by saying that he wasn't there and he didn't know what was going on. And that shouldn't be allowed. Whatever happens in a premises whether the owner is there or not, whether the registered manager is there or not, must still be the responsibility of that person, because they are responsible for making sure that whoever is there is running the place in compliance with the law and whatever regulations apply to that particular premises.
The age verification process, do you think it will be strengthened with these new regulations?
You know, part of the problem is that this has always been in place. It is true that we don't have as strict a system in South Africa generally as you have, for example, in the United States, where I'm told that some people who clearly look over the age of 21, which is the age there, the people over there who clearly look as though they're older than 21 get asked to show their ID in many instances. So if we had that applied in a very, very strict way in our country, then of course that would make a huge difference. But the reality is that a lot of places don't do it. And part of the reason, I think, is also to do with the general culture of non-compliance and sort of laissez-faire attitude where I think some outlets are a bit nervous about asking for identification because they think they're going to get a backlash from their patrons. But that's the problem of the general sort of culture of non-compliance, which is a really big issue that we need to deal with across the board in relation to liquor outlets.
And the other thing that stood out for me was on the maximum number when it comes to how much the premises can accommodate. Do you think that will make a difference?
Look, I think that's a very important one. I must say, it's the first time I've seen that written into any legislation. I think that is very, very important, because they should actually then be held to account for ensuring that the place doesn't get overcrowded. So I think that is very, very positive, and it would be great to see that implemented across the country. But again, you know, one of the challenges that we have around all of this is, how do you ensure compliance? One of the problems that we have in the country at the moment is that there's a kind of rule of thumb, which is that places that don't have licenses, the police must just close them down. Places that do have licenses are the responsibility of the liquor inspectors of the liquor board. But as it was said in an article today in the newspaper, no province in the entire country has enough liquor inspectors. In fact, in its one article, they said that in 2022, they had 16 liquor inspectors in the Eastern Cape with 7,500 registered licensed premises. How do 16 people manage all of those places, including doing their other work, which is that when somebody applies for a license, the liquor inspector has to go to the premises, has to check that it's compliant, has to check that it's, you know, they've got a building plan, has to check that they've got toilets for men and women, have to check the proximity to schools and so on. So, you know, until such time as, number one, there are many, many, many more people with the power of liquor inspectors, and number two, that there's clarity between the police, the municipality, the liquor board, different agencies of government about how to manage these liquor outlets. I'm afraid we're going to carry on having problems because, again, you know, how are we going to make sure that population density, as it were, of a premises is adhered to? If you don't have inspectors who go into places randomly to go and check that they are being complied with, or the police go in randomly to check that it's being complied with. So, you know, a lot of these regulations are very important and good, but we really, really, really do need effective enforcement to make sure that they happen.
Yeah.
And I think that they missed the opportunity as well to do things like with renewals. You know, renewals in the Western Cape, people are not automatic anymore. If somebody wants to renew their license, the community can comment on that. And we think that that should happen across the country.
Yeah.
If you read the legislation, it simply says that people have to pay the renewal fee every year. So if somebody is behaving badly, is behaving in an antisocial way, causing problems in the community, no, it doesn't matter. You just go renew and you carry on.
Very well. Thank you so much. Thanks for weighing in on this discussion. Leaving it there for now. Office Bearer of Working for an Alcohol Safer South Africa, Maurice Smithers there, raising some points, saying that there are not enough liquor inspectors in the country.